Today, Trump fires off letters to more than a dozen countries while pushing back the deadline for final tariff negotiations. Hopes fade for missing Texas flood victims. Netanyahu kicks off his White House visit with a charm offensive, while a controversial plan for Gaza is floated. And
Wall Street opens Wednesday morning after a mixed and flat day for stocks. Investors on edge about tariffs and what's coming next. The Dow fell 165 points, 0.3%. Nike shares led it lower. They were down 3.5%. The S&P 500 index down 4 points. The Nasdaq up 5 points. Nvidia shares were up a little more than 1% on Tuesday. Companies whose shares have hit fresh all-time highs today include Booking.com parent Booking Holdings, Coach parent Tapestry, Uber, McKesson, and Oracle, but not all investors are convinced.
The tariff situation isn't great, and there's still a lot of ambiguity. We know that supply chains are going to be messed up from that, but we don't know how. We don't know how inflation is going to be impacted yet. So my apprehension on the bull market is that people are expecting more than they're going to get. And when people's expectations become misaligned with what really happens, they behave badly.
Gilman Hill's Jenny Harrington on CNBC. The deadline for President Trump's reciprocal tariffs on a number of countries has been pushed to August 1st. And coming soon, tariffs on copper. The copper miners' shares were up as much as 5% Tuesday. Freeport McMoran, Ivanhoe, and Sandfire, to name a few.
He intends to go to 50%, which will be similar to steel and aluminum, which are both 50%, so copper will be 50%. And the idea is to bring copper home. We need that kind of production in America. Then copper will be set, likely to be put into place the end of July, maybe August 1st.
That's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick on CNBC. President Trump also threatening to impose up to 200% tariffs on pharmaceuticals not made in the U.S. very soon. Boeing delivered the most airplanes in June in about 18 months after ramping up its 737 MAX output. CNBC's biggest sports empires list is out. At the top is KSC, which owns the LA Rams, the Denver Nuggets, and the Colorado Avalanche, many stadiums and arenas, and a media company.
These are the biggest names reshaping the business of sports. Taking the top spot in this inaugural first ever year is Kroenke Sports and Entertainment, worth $21.2 billion. Then there's Jerry Jones's Cowboys empire, which takes the second spot, valued at more than $15 billion. The Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment Group comes in third place at $14.6 billion. Garden Sports round out the top five.
CNBC's Dominic Chu. On Wednesday's watch list, we get the Fed's minutes from the last meeting with possible hints on the direction of interest rates. Samsung's Galaxy Unpacked event is set to show off new phones in New York City. Jessica Ettinger, CNBC.
Which American states are driving business? Last year, Virginia took the honors. Which state will be the top state for business this year?
America's top states for business. The full list revealed Thursday and streaming on CNBC Plus.
a listener production.
Wall Street stalls as investors ponder trade headlines.
And Aussie shares expected to open lower Wednesday after the Reserve Bank stuns with a steady rates call.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Ryan.
It's Wednesday, the 9th of July. Welcome to the CommSec Market Update. Ryan, if there was a theme last night, it was probably the lack of conviction on the part of equity market investors. The moves for the three indices that we look at most carefully were fairly modest. The ranges were equally modest as well. We had the Dow Jones finish with a decline of 0.4%, around the lows of the day. The S&P 500, having traded up and down by a range of 0.2%, finished with a loss of 0.1%, and the Nasdaq was flat. It performed a little bit better by comparison. It was up by 1/3% at the high, but wasn't able to sustain that. That's probably a forgivable outcome under the circumstances. There are a lot of headlines flying about that don't enlighten the investor very much.
It was a choppy session, Tom, and a lot of volatility around the trade trade headlines. We had US President Donald Trump saying there would be no change or extensions granted to his August reciprocal tariff start date. Remember, on Monday, he pushed the tariff deadline to August 1 from July 9. Trump also broadened his trade war as he announced a 50% tariff on imported copper and said long-threatened levies on semiconductors and pharmaceuticals were coming soon. And on the back of that, we saw a massive jump up in US copper futures. In fact, copper futures jumped 13.3% to $5.65 US a pound, and that was the biggest single day gain since August 1989. So we did see a reaction. We saw US copper producers, Freeport McMoran and Southern Copper, they were up 2.5% and 1.4% respectively. Not massive gains, but certainly we did see a lot of focus on copper last night.
Indeed, and there were some equally impressive moves, I suppose, where energy stocks were concerned. So we had energy lead the improvements where the S&P 500 sectors were concerned. There were only modest gains for the podium participants. You had materials, health and technology stocks posting modest improvements. But on the negative side of the equation, you had consumer staples do quite poorly, and financial stocks weighed on things as well. So you had JP Morgan and Bank of America down by around 3%. In the staples space, Hershey and Kroger, the supermarket operator, were down in the order of 2 to 3%.
Yes, so we did see the KBW Bank Index down by 0.9%, as you mentioned, Tom. Shares of the three major banks fell. You said JP Morgan, Chase, Goldman Sachs and Bank of America. They slid as much as 3.8%, and that's after downgrades from HSBC, after being lowered to reduce from hold, and we did see Bank of America drop after being downgraded to hold from buy. So these ratings come ahead of the second quarter earnings season for banks, which begins late next week, and we did see that really weigh on the market generally.
They've become a victim of their recent success because they have had a substantial rally over the course of the last month, and those valuations just getting a little bit elevated for the taste of some. We've spoken about the Russell 2000 quite a bit in recent days, and it outperformed last night. So having been up by as much as 1%, it finished with a gain of around 0.75%. So investors are taking this opportunity to find some value amongst these smaller organisations in the US market.
The S&P 500's biggest gainer last night was Moderna. It was up 8.8% after leading medical organisations filed a lawsuit against US Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the Department of Health and Human Services, arguing that current COVID-19 vaccine policies pose a threat to public health.
Do you know what day it is, Ryan?
Hump Day?
It's Amazon Prime Day. So
oh, yes.
A great opportunity for yourself to get out and get your smalls.
Yes.
Amazon shares, however, down by 1.8%. This is how forensically things get measured now. Spending in the first hours of Amazon Prime Day down by 14% relative to the last time, and that was weighing on the stock, which fell by about 2%.
Interesting that you mentioned consumer spending, because we got an update last night on US consumer borrowing, which increased in May at the slowest pace in 3 months on a pullback in credit card and other revolving debt outstanding. So total credit outstanding rose $5.1 billion after a revised $16.9 billion gain in April, according to Federal Reserve data. Credit card and other revolving debt outstanding declined $3.5 billion, the first decrease since November, and non-revolving debt such as loans for vehicle purchases and school tuition increased $8.6 billion, a slight deceleration from a month earlier. The slowdown in borrowing coincides with a moderation in household spending during the month, pick up in anxiety about the economy and labour market in recent months,